Welcome to Martha Family Secret Stories. You know that moment when you realize the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally have conditions?
Yeah,
I found out the hard way. My name is Sarah Calloway. I'm 28 years old. And the night before my wedding, at 11:43 in the evening, my mother left me a voicemail. Her voice was calm. Controlled. Like she'd rehearsed it. Sarah. It's not too late to cancel. Think about what you're doing to this family. Don't embarrass us like this. She hung up before I could say a single word. I played it 3 times. 3 times, just standing there in my bridal suite, in the silence, trying to understand that my own mother was not coming to my wedding. Not because something terrible had happened. Not because she was sick or scared or heartbroken. Because of what my fiancé did for a living. Before I tell you what happened next, please subscribe and like this video and listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. Okay. Let me back up. My father, the week before the wedding, had mailed me a 4-page letter. 4 pages. Typed. Single-spaced. On his university department letterhead, like it was an academic paper. Like my life was something he could peer review and reject. He used the word desperate 3 times in 4 pages. I read that letter so many times the paper started to soften at the folds. I had sent 68 invitations to my side of the family. 68. Beautiful cream cardstock, calligraphy addressing, each one sealed by hand. Parents. My brother. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends I'd known since I was in pigtails. My mother sent a group email to all of them before a single RSVP came back. She didn't copy me on it. I found out because my cousin Emily forwarded it to me 2 hours later with the message, "What the heck, is this real? We cannot in good conscience attend. After much painful deliberation, we must inform you that we will not be attending Sarah's wedding. We love our daughter deeply, but we cannot in good conscience support a marriage that represents such a significant departure from our family's values." She attached a family Christmas photo. One from the year before, when I hadn't come home for the holidays. The photo she'd chosen, the one she sent alongside that email, was one I wasn't even in. By the RSVP deadline, I had 0 responses from my side. Not one. Some people had opened the digital invite. I could see it. Read. Opened. Just never answered. My brother didn't call. Didn't write. Didn't send the invitation back. He posted a photo of a sunset on Instagram with the caption, "Sometimes you just have to watch people make their own mistakes." 340 likes. I counted. I left the family group chat. My mother added me back. I left again. I called the caterer and told her I needed to cancel 68 seats. She paused on the phone. 68? Are you sure? I'm sure. I'm so sorry, she said, and her voice was so gentle, so unexpectedly kind, that I completely fell apart. I sat in my car for 20 minutes just crying into my steering wheel, crying the ugly kind of cry where you can't catch your breath, because a stranger on the phone was kinder to me than my own family. But here's the thing. Here's what I want you to understand before I tell you the rest. The man they rejected? The man my mother called a departure from our family's values? She had no idea who he was. None of them did. And neither, honestly, did I. Not fully. Not yet. Let me take you back 14 months. Back to a hospital waiting room at 2:17 in the morning, where a man in a security uniform brought me a turkey sandwich and changed the entire course of my life. February 19, 2024. Pennsylvania Hospital, emergency room. My college roommate had been in a bike accident, nothing life-threatening, but enough to put us in the at 2 in the morning under fluorescent lights that made everyone look like they were already halfway gone. The coffee machine had an out-of-order sign taped to it. The vinyl chairs were green and cold. I'd been there 3 hours. Just sitting. Staring at my phone without really seeing it. And then someone stopped in front of me. "You've been here 3 hours. Have you eaten?" I looked up. Security guard. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair. Worn boots. Hospital ID badge clipped to his belt, but flipped backwards so I couldn't read it. His face was tired, but it was a kind tired. The kind that comes from doing a lot, not from being lazy. "No," I said. "I haven't. Vending machine's broken. I'll grab you something from the staff room." He was back in 6 minutes. Turkey sandwich, still wrapped. Paper cup of coffee. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that. You looked like you needed it." We talked for maybe 7 minutes. He didn't say much about himself. Just, "I work here nights, operations stuff." But the way he talked, every word felt chosen. Calm. Precise. Like he didn't waste energy on anything that didn't matter. "Do you like working nights?" I asked. "It's when the work matters most." I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. When the nurse called me back to see my roommate, I stood up. He was still there, hands in his pockets, watching the doors like he was keeping track of something I couldn't see. "I'm Sarah," I said. "Daniel." A nurse walked past, saw him, started to say something. "Doctor?" He cut her off with a single glance. "Just a look." She stopped mid-word and kept walking. I noticed it. I filed it away somewhere in the back of my mind and told myself it meant nothing. "Take care," Daniel said. I thought that was the end. A kind stranger at 2 in the morning. One of those small moments you carry for a while and then set down somewhere and forget. 3 days later, he found me on social media and asked if I wanted to get coffee. I said yes, and I have never stopped being grateful for that. Stay with me, because the next part of this story is where everything starts to shift, where I start noticing things I should have asked about sooner, and where my family decides to make the worst decision of their lives. Our first date was April 3rd. Reading Terminal Market, 12:30 in the afternoon. He showed up on time. Jeans and a worn gray jacket. Still looked tired. I wondered if he'd worked the night before. We wandered through the market, bought cheesesteaks from one of the vendors, sat on a bench near the ice cream stand. He talked about Philadelphia like he deeply loved it but barely ever got to see it in daylight. I talked about my job in academic publishing. Nothing glamorous, but I liked it. His phone buzzed 4 times during lunch. He checked it once, frowned, typed something in what looked like medical shorthand, all abbreviations and numbers, then put it away and gave me his full attention. "Sorry," he said. "It's fine. Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
"Just work." He paid in cash. He didn't check his phone again. When we said
Goodbye.
he smiled for the first time. A real smile. The kind that changes someone's whole face. "Can I see you again?" he asked. Yes. We fell into something slowly at first, and then all at once. Daniel worked crazy hours. Sometimes he'd disappear for 36 hours straight. Overnight shifts, he'd say. Emergencies that needed handling. I didn't push. I figured hospital operations, maybe management, something that kept him permanently on call. He lived simply. Studio apartment, barely any furniture, books everywhere. Mostly medical textbooks and journals. "You read trauma surgery journals for fun?" I asked him once. "I like to understand how things work." I laughed about it at the time. I thought it was quirky. Endearing. In December, 10 months into whatever this was, I asked him to move in with me. He looked at me for a long time. "You sure?" "I'm not around much." "I'm sure." He moved in with one duffel bag, a stack of journals, and a pager that beeped at random hours and sent him out the door at 2 in the morning without explanation. I loved him. I loved him completely and without reservation. I didn't need to know every detail. I just knew he was good. Solid. The kind of person who doesn't crumble. But my family? My family would care about the details. I knew that going in. March 22, 2025. I finally told my mother about Daniel. Oh, how wonderful. What does he do? I hesitated just for half a second. He works at the hospital. Security. Silence. Security operations? Her voice went carefully neutral. Is that management? It's hospital work, Mom. Of course. I'm sure he's very dedicated. That tone. I knew that tone like I knew my own face. It was the same voice she used for things she considered beneath her. Polite on the surface. Poisonous underneath. We'd love to meet him, she said. I hung up. Daniel was in the kitchen making eggs. He didn't look up. They want to meet you, I said. I heard. It'll be fine. It won't be fine, Sarah. He plated the eggs, handed me a fork. But we'll do it anyway. May 18th. My parents' house. Restored Victorian home. Faculty art on the walls. The kind of place that smells like old money and older expectations. Daniel arrived on time. He brought wine. A modest bottle. Nothing expensive. He dressed in his best, which was clearly not expensive enough. I watched my mother's eyes flick to his shoes. Worn. Not designer. My father shook his hand with that appraising look that I'd seen him use on students he'd already decided weren't worth his time. Melinda tells us you work in hospital security. Yes, sir. Operations and safety protocols. And your educational background? State University, scholarship. My mother smiled. It did not reach her eyes. Dinner was excruciating. My parents talked about tenure, publications, sabbatical plans in Provence. Daniel listened. He didn't try to impress them. He answered questions politely. He did not play their game. And then our neighbor, Professor Adelaide Winters, mentioned her son's health issues. Dizziness, balance problems. 3 doctors, no clear answers. Daniel put down his fork. Sounds like vestibular neuritis, not vertigo. Has he seen an ENT specialist? The table went quiet. How did you know that? My mother asked. I work in a hospital. You pick things up. He didn't elaborate. He went back to his meal. My mother stared at him for 3 full seconds and then changed the subject. Dinner ended at 9:30. We drove home without saying much. At 10:43, my mother texted me. We need to talk about your future. Call me when you have a moment. This is important. Daniel reached over and held my hand in the dark. He didn't tell me it would be okay. He knew it wouldn't be. June 3rd. My father's letter arrived. 4 pages. Typed, single-spaced, on his university department letterhead. We raised you to value education, discourse, and intellectual partnership. We worry that a marriage built on such desperate foundations will not weather the challenges of time. This isn't about love. It's about compatibility of life paths. Daniel seems like a kind man, but kindness alone cannot bridge the gap between your world and his. The word desperate appeared 3 times. I called Daniel. He was at work. I could hear a hospital in the background. Beeping monitors. Distant voices. I told him everything my father had written. Every word. He listened without interrupting. Do you want to marry me? He asked when I finished. Yes. Then we get married. That was it. No anger. No defensiveness. Just quiet certainty. I loved him more in that moment than I ever had before. But my family wasn't finished. Not even close. Come back for part 3, because that's where my family goes from disappointing to truly unforgivable, and where I start noticing things about Daniel that should have told me everything. June 10th. My mother invited me to coffee. I showed up thinking maybe we'd argue, maybe we'd find some middle ground, maybe she just needed to say her piece and then let it go. She had brought someone with her. Sarah, this is Dr. Trevor Ashford. His mother and I serve on the same board. Trevor, this is my daughter. He stood up and smiled. PenMed badge clipped to his belt like a trophy. Pediatric surgeon. Ivy League everything. Summers in Maine. The full package, by her standards. I sat down because leaving immediately felt too dramatic. I lasted 11 minutes. Trevor's family has a house in Bar Harbor, my mother was saying. You'd have so much in common. I'm engaged, Mom. You're not married yet. I stood up, left my coffee untouched, and walked out. My mother did not follow. The family group chat went off like a fire alarm. 23 unread messages by the time I checked. Aunt Patricia, has anyone actually met this man? Cousin Emily, I heard he works security, like night shifts. Uncle Douglas, well, Sarah always was independent. My brother posted a sunset photo. Sometimes you just have to watch people make their own mistakes. 340 likes. I left the group chat. My mother added me back. I left again. By this point, things were happening at home that I was noticing but not saying anything about. Daniel's pager would go off at 2 in the morning. He'd answer in a completely different voice. Sharp, focused. All business. How long? Okay. Intubate. If stats drop below 88, I'll be there in 12 minutes. Dressed and out the door in under 3 minutes. Home 6 hours later, exhausted, with what looked like a small blood stain on his shirt cuff. Rough night, he said. I looked at that stain and told myself security guards sometimes assist in medical situations. That it was nothing. Security guards don't give orders about intubation. I knew that, somewhere deep down. I just wasn't ready to pull on that thread. I picked him up from work one evening in July. 6:15. He was standing outside the main entrance in scrubs. A nurse walked past, stopped when she saw him. Dr. Mercer, the family in Bay 3 wants to thank you before they leave. Tell them I'll stop by. She nodded and walked away. I stared at him. That nurse called you doctor. She's new. Probably confused the badge system. His ID was flipped backward on his belt. The same way it had been the night I met him. I almost asked. I was right there. I could feel the question sitting in my chest, ready to come out. But then I saw how exhausted he was. Dark circles. Bone-deep tired. And I made a choice I would later regret. I let it go. August 12th. I sent 68 invitations. Beautiful cream card stock. Calligraphy. Sealed by hand. Daniel watched me at the kitchen table, sealing envelopes one by one. You don't have to invite them, he said. They're my family. Okay. He didn't argue. But I saw it in his face. He knew what was coming, and he was already grieving for me. August 20th. My mother's group email. Sent to every single person on my guest list. Without copying me. We cannot in good conscience attend. I found out from Emily's forwarded message 2 hours later. I read it 4 times. Then I called the caterer and cancelled 68 seats. Then I called the venue coordinator and told her to leave my side of the seating exactly as planned. Should I remove the chairs, she asked. No. Leave them. All 34. Leave the programs on the seats. Leave the name cards at the reception table. I want to see it. She looked at me like she was worried about me. Maybe she was right to be. RSVP deadline came. 0 responses. Not one person from my family wrote back. My brother said nothing directly to me. He just posted another sunset. September 13th, the night before the wedding. Nathan came home from an overnight shift at 11:47. Found me on the couch, staring at my phone in the dark. He sat down beside me and took my hand. "We can cancel," he said. "We can go to City Hall Monday. Just the two of us." "No. I want the wedding. I want them to know what they chose." He kissed my forehead. "Okay. Then we do this your way." At 11:43, my phone rang. "Mom." I answered. "Sarah. It's not too late to cancel. Think about what you're doing to this family. Don't embarrass us like this." She hung up before I could speak. I played it 3 times. She really wasn't coming. Stay with me, because part 4 is the wedding, and it is the part that changed everything. Not just for me. For my entire family. Forever. September 14th, 2025. 4:00 in the afternoon. I was alone in the bridal suite. No mother to zip up the back of my dress. The venue coordinator, Sarah, did it for me. Her hands were gentle. "You look stunning," she said. "Thank you." I looked in the mirror. White dress. Hair done by a stylist who worked quietly because she could tell I didn't want to talk. Makeup I did myself because I didn't trust my hands to be steady if someone else was doing it and being kind to me. I looked beautiful. I looked completely alone. I checked my phone one last time. 0 messages. I turned it off. The doors opened at 4:02. The string quartet began. Canon in D, the song I had chosen 6 months ago, back when I still believed my father would walk me down the aisle. I stood at the threshold. Left side. 34 empty chairs. 34 programs sitting untouched on seats. 34 name cards at the reception table that would never be claimed. Right side. Daniel's people. 82 of them, standing, smiling, some already crying. His parents in the front row. His mother had tears running down her face before I even took my first step. Daniel stood at the altar in a navy suit. He saw me. His face completely fell apart. In the best possible way. He mouthed something. I couldn't hear it across the room, but I knew exactly what he said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I started walking. 90 feet. No father. No brother. No one holding my arm and telling me I was making the right choice. Just me, in white heels that hurt, holding a bouquet too tightly, and 34 empty chairs watching me like witnesses. Every step felt like defiance. Every empty chair was a choice they had made. I kept walking. Daniel took my hands when I reached him. Both of us were shaking. He went first with his vows. His voice cracked halfway through. "I don't have much," he said. "But what I have is yours. My time, my hands, my life. I see you, Sarah. I've always seen you." I was completely gone. Just crying openly, not caring at all. My turn. "You're enough," I whispered. "You've always been enough. And I choose you today and every day after." The officiant smiled through her own tears. We kissed. He held my face in both hands and kissed me like the 34 empty chairs did not exist. Like it was only us. For one perfect moment, it was. The reception. 6:33. First dance. Can't help falling in love. 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Daniel held me. We swayed. I could feel his heartbeat. "I thought they'd come," I whispered. "I know, baby. I know." The song ended. We kept swaying for 5 more seconds. And then at 7:23, when dessert was being served and the cake had been cut, I heard it. A scream. "Richard." Someone help. Richard. I turned. A man, in his 60s, one of Daniel's guests, had collapsed near the dessert table. His wife was on her knees beside him, shaking his shoulder. People froze. Someone yelled for someone to call 911. Daniel was already moving. He crossed the room in seconds. Dropped to his knees. And then something happened that I cannot fully describe except to say it was like watching a different person inhabit the same body. He was not a wedding guest anymore. Someone call 911. Tell them 62-year-old male, possible MI, wedding reception at the Horticulture Center. His voice cut through the noise like it was designed for exactly this. A woman in a dress and heels ran toward him. Someone I'd been introduced to earlier and couldn't quite place. Dr. Mercer, I have an AED in my car. She was already running. An older man appeared. Calm. Focused. Daniel, you want me to handle? Get my medical kit from my car, back seat, and start oxygen if you have it. They moved like a team. Like they had done this 1,000 times. Because, I would later understand, they had. The woman came back with the AED. Dr. Mercer, it's ready. Good. Charge to 200. Someone start compressions. 2 inches deep, 100 per minute. Rotate every 2. The EMTs arrived. They saw Daniel. Recognition crossed their faces immediately. Dr. Mercer, we've got it from here, sir. We'll transport to Penn. Daniel stood. Completely professional. Hands at his sides. Zero panic. The EMTs loaded the man onto a stretcher. Daniel rode with them to the hospital. 15 minutes. Somewhere nearby, a woman in a beaded dress was holding up her phone. Filming. 10 seconds of shaky vertical footage. I didn't notice. I was too busy staring at the door Daniel had just walked out of. Dr. Mercer. He came back at 8:10. Is he okay? I asked. He'll be fine. Stent procedure tonight. Full recovery expected. I stared at him. Everyone kept calling you doctor. Daniel looked at me. Long silence. I am a doctor. You said you worked security. I do. Hospital security systems, safety protocols. I oversee operations. He paused. But I'm also a trauma surgeon. Chief of trauma at Penn Medicine. I heard the words. I understood each one individually. Together, they made no sense. How long? 6 years as chief. 12 years total at Penn. Why didn't you tell me? He looked at me, and his voice was quiet, and honest, and a little broken. Because you never needed me to be more than I was. We stood there in the middle of our wedding reception. We'll talk later, he said gently. Right now, we have a wedding to finish. He took my hand and led me back to the dance floor. I followed, because I was too stunned to do anything else. We had no idea what was happening online. The woman in the beaded dress, the daughter of the man who had collapsed, posted the video at 8:04. 10 seconds. Shaky vertical footage. Daniel kneeling. The nurse running over with the AED. Another doctor asking about intubation. The EMTs arriving and deferring to him. Dr. Mercer, we've got it from here, sir. Her caption, OMG, the groom at this wedding just saved my dad's life and everyone is calling him Dr. Mercer. By 9 o'clock, 3,000 views. By 10, 62,000. By midnight, 340,000. By 6:42 the next morning, when I woke to my phone vibrating continuously on the nightstand. 2.8 million. Stay with me for part 5. Because that's when my family realized what they had done. And that's when everything in my life, quietly, permanently, changed. I woke up to 47 missed calls. Friends I hadn't spoken to in months. College acquaintances. Blocked numbers. Unknown numbers. I opened my phone and the video was everywhere. Not just the original post. Reposts, stitches, reaction videos, news segments. Comments flooding in by the thousands. Wait, that's Dr. Daniel Mercer from Penn. He's a legend in trauma surgery. He did my sister's emergency surgery in 2021. Saved her life. The Mercer protocol is taught in medical schools now. This man is brilliant. Best trauma surgeon on the East Coast. Full stop. I scrolled and kept scrolling. Hundreds of comments. Then thousands. People he had saved. Families he had helped. Colleagues who had trained under him. I shook Daniel awake. Nathan. Wake up. The video. It's everywhere. He sat up, looked at my phone, then at his. His face went pale.
Oh no.
By 10:22 that morning, Penn Medicine had released an official statement confirming that Dr. Daniel Mercer had served as chief of trauma surgery for 6 years, that his contributions to emergency medicine had saved countless lives, and that they were proud to have him. The statement was picked up by local news, national outlets, medical Twitter. Residents who had trained under him. Nurses who had worked alongside him. Attending physicians who called him the best they'd ever seen. By 2 in the afternoon, Daniel was trending nationally. I made the mistake of reading the comments for too long. Dr. Mercer saved my daughter after a 4-story fall. We owe him everything. I was a trauma resident under Dr. Mercer. The best teacher I've ever known. My brother coded twice during surgery. Dr. Mercer brought him back both times. He just turned 30 last month. He is alive because of this man. Over 400 patient testimonials in the first 24 hours. I sat at our kitchen table and cried. Not sad crying. The overwhelmed kind. The kind where you realize you've been sleeping next to a miracle this whole time and you just didn't have the full picture. And then my mother started calling. 11 calls between 1 and 4:30 in the afternoon. My father sent an email at 2:47. Subject line, urgent family matter. My brother sent a message at 3:15. Sarah. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I read it. I didn't respond. My mother's world had started to crack at its foundations. Faculty colleagues asking pointed questions. People at the country club. The private school board meeting she walked into and was met with a long, loaded silence, because everyone in the room had seen the video, and everyone in the room knew that she hadn't been at that wedding. Then someone leaked her email. A distant cousin, probably someone with a guilty conscience. The full screenshot, her name, the timestamp, the subject line. We cannot in good conscience attend. 68,000 retweets by end of day. Comments I will not repeat in full, but trust me when I say the internet is not forgiving of a mother who boycotts her own daughter's wedding and calls a trauma surgeon a departure from family values. I didn't have to do anything. The truth was punishment enough. Daniel and I went to the Adirondacks for a week. A cabin. No cell service. Wood-burning stove. Hiking trails. Silence. On the 3rd day, sitting on the porch, him with coffee and me with tea and the woods completely quiet around us, I asked the question I'd been sitting with since the wedding. Why didn't you tell me? He was quiet for a moment. Because you saw me, he said. Really saw me. Not the credentials or the title or what I'd accomplished. Just me. And I didn't want to lose that. You wouldn't have lost it. Maybe. But I've spent my whole adult life being Dr. Mercer. Chief of trauma. The surgeon everyone calls when things go wrong. And it's good work, important work, but it's also exhausting being that person every single moment. He looked at me. You met me in a waiting room at 2 in the morning. I was in a security uniform. I brought you a sandwich. And you talked to me like I was just a person. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I let you keep an assumption I should have corrected. And
Yeah.
that was wrong. I know that. He reached for my hand. But for the first time in my adult life, someone loved me for who I was. Not what I could do. And I held on to that. Even when I shouldn't have. I didn't say anything for a long time. I'm still angry, I said finally. I know. But I understand. We sat there until the sun went down. We drove back to Philadelphia. Life moved forward. October went by. Then November. The video faded. New stories replaced it online. The world moved on. But the fallout for my family did not stop. And then November 8th. My phone rang at 7:12 in the evening. Mom. I almost didn't answer. Sarah. Her voice was shaking in a way I had never heard before. It's your father. He collapsed at a faculty event. They're taking him to Penn Presbyterian. It's his heart, Melinda. Please come. I need you. She was crying the broken kind of cry. Not the performed kind. I looked at Daniel. He was already grabbing his keys. Let's go. We arrived at 8:20. My mother was in the waiting room in her cashmere coat from the faculty event, makeup running, hands trembling. She saw me and completely fell apart. Melinda, I know you hate me. I know what we did. Mom. Not now. Where is he? We sat and waited. Some of my father's colleagues were in the waiting area. They recognized me and looked away quickly. At 9:15, a nurse came out. Mrs. Calloway, your husband is in surgery. Dr. Mercer is operating. My mother's face drained of color. The nurse nodded gently. Yes. Dr. Mercer is chief of trauma on call tonight. Your husband is in the best hands. My mother collapsed into a chair. We did not speak for 90 minutes. Finally, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, she whispered, the man oh God. Melinda. What have we done? I had no answer for her. At 11:47, the doors opened. Daniel walked out in scrubs. Exhausted. Professional. Mrs. Calloway, Sarah. Your husband is stable. We performed an emergency coronary bypass. He's going to be okay. My mother stood, tears streaming down her face. You saved him. After everything we did to you, after everything we said, you still. Mrs. Calloway. His voice was gentle. Firm. I'm a doctor. I took an oath. I don't choose who deserves care. My mother sobbed. Daniel looked at me. I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. And something else. Sadness. Not for himself. For me. November 9th. My father woke up in the ICU. The nurse told him what had happened. Who had operated. He asked to see Daniel. Daniel came briefly, between rounds. 6 minutes. I was wrong, my father said. His voice was weak. Machines beeping all around him. So completely wrong. I don't know how to. Mr. Calloway. Focus on recovery. We can talk about the rest later. I called you nobody. Yes. You did. I don't deserve your forgiveness. No. You don't. But that's between you and your daughter. My job was to keep you alive. I did that. Daniel left. My father stared at the ceiling. He would carry that for the rest of his life. The letters came after that. The calls. 8 emails from my mother. 3 handwritten letters. 12 voicemails from my father. My brother texting on November 15th, I miss you. My mother's 5-page apology letter arriving November 20th. There are no words adequate to express our shame. We judged a man by his job title and missed his character entirely. We abandoned our daughter on the most important day of her life. We have to live with that. I read everything. I responded to nothing for 5 weeks. December 12th. I texted my mother. Coffee Monday. Just you and me. December 18th. Neutral coffee shop. She ordered tea and didn't touch it. I drank half my coffee. 32 minutes. She apologized. She cried. She didn't make excuses. For the first time, she didn't try to explain it away or reframe it or make herself the reasonable one. I listened. Then I laid out my terms. No normal relationship. Not yet. Maybe not ever. No holidays together. No unsolicited opinions about my life. No expectation that we simply move past this. And you will respect Daniel. Always. Those are the terms. She nodded. I understand. She didn't ask for more. That was the first thing she had done right in months. Christmas that year, we spent with Daniel's family. South Philly row house. 14 people in a space built for maybe 8. His mother made too much lasagna. His father watched football. Their dog kept stealing food off the counter every time someone turned their back. It was loud and warm and chaotic, and it felt more like family than anything I had grown up with. My phone buzzed at 6 in the evening. Mom, Merry Christmas. We miss you. I read it. I didn't respond. Not yet. New Year's Eve. Daniel and I stayed home. Champagne. Quiet. Fireworks over the Philadelphia skyline from our window. Do you think I should forgive them? I asked. I think you should do whatever lets you sleep at night. The clock hit midnight. I kissed him. I chose this. I choose this. Every single day. People ask me if I forgave my family. The honest answer is, I don't know yet. I'm not sure forgiveness is the goal. I think what I needed was peace, and peace doesn't come from erasing what happened. It comes from being clear about who you are and what you will and won't accept. My family made their choice. Status over character. Appearances over love. Pride over their own daughter. I made mine. The man they called nobody. The security guard they couldn't be seen with. He was everything. He saw me before the world had any reason to. He loved me when I was just a woman in a hospital waiting room at 2 in the morning with nothing to prove. He saved my father's life after my father spent months trying to destroy our relationship. He held my hand through 90 feet of empty chairs and never once made me feel alone. That's who Daniel Mercer is. Not chief of trauma surgery. Not the doctor who pioneered the Mercer protocol. Not the surgeon whose name shows up in medical journals and on hospital walls. Just Daniel. The man who brought me a sandwich when I needed one. The man who chose every word carefully because he didn't waste energy on things that didn't matter. The man who stood at the end of that aisle and mouthed "I'm sorry" before I'd even taken my first step. I walked toward him anyway. Past the empty chairs. Past the silence where my family should have been. Past every voice that told me his worth was tied to a job title. I walked toward him, and I have never once looked back. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Some wounds don't heal. Some do. Some just leave scars. And that's okay. I chose the man who saw my worth before the world validated it. That was enough. That is enough. That's my story. And I would do it all again.